Further questions? Mr. Prisco.
Oh, excuse me, just in relation to what we're accepting here this evening. In order to amend it, like if we find it needs to be tweaked, process would be what?
If you guys want to amend it, you
Okay,
amend it, I change it, and you vote on it.
You all
Okay.
set?
Yeah, I mean, the process for, I guess, the waivers, that's kind of site-specific. It's hard to
no, I know.
write that down in black and white. You know, it's a, if that's an issue.
No, I just wanted to be assured, and again, I know how Jim operates and how.
I
he
didn't read it
operates.
that way.
I just have this type of mind where I get a little bit, I've seen so many times where, you know, the town has made a decision, and in most of, any new development that's gonna take place in town is gonna involve wetlands. It's gonna involve runoff, it's gonna involve, abutters and the impact on them. And, even if you're gonna do something at the corner of Winter Street and Route 28 there, that site is gonna have an impact on abutters.
Well, that case, that site's under an acre, so this wouldn't apply. It's got to be 1 acre or larger for this to
Well,
apply.
they're trying to link the whole thing, 2.75 acres, what the sign says. Trying to sell this.
But it's the disturbed part, if they're only doing the Dunkin' Donuts, whatever,
Yeah.
they're only disturbing the less than an acre. It's based on the disturbed area, not the property area.
It is.
But yes, consistency is the way to go because it avoids the, you did this for me and you did this for them. I agree.
Anything else?
No, what's that?
Mr. Prisco.
Mr. Chairman, I move to adopt the Town of North Reading Stormwater Management Rules and Regulations dated May 2010 as recommended by the Department of Public Works Director.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Prisco, seconded by Mr. O'Leary. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. Thank you, Dave.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We have the fire chief here for adopting ALS plan, recommendations, and ambulance BLS rates. Chief?
The town administrator has the, plan. I don't have it in here.
I can address the policy. Chief can answer any questions about the ALS service. You remember when the policy came before the board back in February? It was written in a way that the town was going to afford preference for local residents in terms of how it pursued the balanced billing on ambulance services. As you know, those provisions have been removed. We consulted with various federal agencies that control ambulance rates, and we were advised by council that we should not pursue that. So what I've done is remove that section from the policy, and I'm only talking about the policy at this point. I'm not talking about the rates. So if you look at in your packet, item number 10, the policy was amended to indicate that the town would be providing both basic and advanced life support, and that the town currently contracts with a private ALS provider, and that the ALS provider has the right to set its own rates, and that they can seek payment for services rendered as provided in their contract. Now, that's the current practice without the town providing those services. The Table 1 refers to the rates, which can be changed, and we recommend they be changed by the board. And then the final change would be in subparagraph G, where we've included language in here that the town will not be balance billing for Medicare and Medicaid. However, anyone that does have private insurance, the town will bill until the insurance company or the patient pays for service. So that's the clarity that's necessary to establish consistency across the board, whether we provide services to residents or non-residents. So this is, purpose of this is the first reading. There was no action taken on the policy back in February. It was postponed. So I would suggest that you offer a first reading, your comments this evening. It will be scheduled for a second reading at your next meeting. And then in addition to that, the board should consider adopting the new ambulance rates, which are for both BLS and ALS services, and those rates have not changed since it was originally proposed back in February. They are what we consider to be all-inclusive rates, which are necessary to fully fund the ambulance program going forward and provide us with the opportunity to provide additional staffing and ALS service as was presented through the ALS Ambulance Study Committee 3 weeks ago.
Gentlemen? Questions, comments? Mr. O'Leary?
Is part of the purpose of modifying this policy to incorporate ALS responsibility to the fire department?
It shouldn't be.
Okay, if I'm reading the first sentence then, Town of North Reading shall provide 24-hour per day, 7-day per week, basic and advanced life support ambulance service, which shall be the responsibility of the fire department.
Which it is now. No, only when they're using an outside contractor to provide the ALS. I mean, that's how I interpreted it.
Well, it seems to be a major modification, which is,
At the present time, we use a ALS provider that assists us in our ALS service. What we're basically doing is trying to set rates that, once we are able to provide both services, the rates would be set by the town.
well, we're setting the rates anyway, in case we ever get there,
Yes.
which is what's being proposed anyway.
Yes.
And don't we already have those incorporated in our rates currently?
We have the rates that.
The current
we
rates.
use a
Yeah, the current
rate
rates.
policy, yes, we do.
We do, yes, we already have.
They would increase rates over the,
Yeah,
and incorporate
we're contracting it rather than
Yes.
having our menu.
instead of having a menu.
Right. Right.
Are you through, Steve, or?
Then it said, and according to the contract, which contract? This is in C.
Oh, that's with the private vendor?
Yeah, it says with its private ALS provider.
With its private, prevails, okay.
The way I view it, this doc, if we were to adopt an in-house ALS downstream, we would amend this document one more time.
We would amend it one more time
By clarifying, well, we wouldn't be talking about an ALS
provider.
provider.
Right.
Deleting C. That's
Although
what I
there
see.
would be,
well, no,
we'd still
there still
have.
may be instances where you
you'd
still have the
still be,
contract out, so,
Yeah,
you know, not necessarily.
that's true, yeah.
Not necessarily, I don't think you'd have to revisit it.
But we might want to add some things related to mutual ALS aid. Not mutual aid, but providing ALS services outside of the town, to other communities.
Try to build a foundation from which we can work from, build our basis of our ALS and BLS program.
I have
That
two quick
is what it was. Okay, Michael?
Two quick questions. First thing is in regards to abatements. So that's when we meet twice annually, we discuss those people, those folks that cannot afford to pay the bill that we submitted. We make determination whether we want to accept an adjustment or waive.
Right,
The
and
bill
we've been
completely.
doing this now because in years past, it went back 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years,
Yeah.
more than that.
Back in about yay thick and.
So we're only going to do that twice a year.
Yeah.
Okay. Then on K, it's like, we use an outside billing contractor to do our
Yes.
billing?
Yes, we do.
We don't do it internally with, but we do everything else internally?
Maybe everything else.
Like, for example, if somebody comes in and has to meet the fire department to come in and do a certification on a fire alarm or something related to a home, they pull a permit here, or
Yes, we
they
do that
submit,
internally.
do we use a private contractor for that as well?
No,
Only for the collection of the bill, billing and collection.
And why do we do that?
You have to deal with the insurance companies.
you have to deal with the
Okay.
insurance
Yeah,
companies,
yeah.
what is allowable, what is not allowable. They have the way that they chase money down and so forth.
And then we give them a percentage of
We
the,
give them a percentage, which we're working with some vendors right now, come up with a rate schedule. Right now, we work with a company out of
Comstar.
Ipswich.
a company called Comstar.
And as part of the ALS proposal we made last week, one of the things that, I guess it wasn't highlighted, is that there's a proposal to change that vendor to someone else.
So we'll always consider doing, we're never gonna turn away from, we'll always use an outside vendor, which I'm not saying I don't support, I just wanted to understand it.
At this
The
point,
only
we're
way you can
unable
stay on
to,
top of,
Yeah.
otherwise it would be
we're
adding.
unable to support ourselves
Yep.
in doing our own billing and so forth.
It's good, no, I just wanted to make sure I understood what I was reading.
Years past, we tried it on
We
our
tried it
own,
ourselves years
and
ago.
our collection rate was not very good.
No, I bet it isn't.
Yeah, so that
You gotta know all the insurance codes,
Oh.
it's like, a typical medical office chasing down the,
It's a specialty, I see it as.
yeah.
And what you saw in the ALS plan that was presented a few weeks ago, that took into consideration the percentage paid to
Outside
billing
vendor,
service.
okay. Good, that's all I have.
Anyone else? Hearing none. For first reading,
Mr. Chairman, I move,
policy and rates.
I'm sorry.
Mr. Prisco.
Mr. Chairman, I move to adopt the first reading of 4.1 ambulance policy operations.
second.
Motion by Mr. Prisco, seconded by Mr. O'Leary. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Unanimous?
Whole policy doesn't have to be read?
No, but I do ask that the board consider,
Can we adopt the rates this evening?
the rates do need to be adopted by the board.
I'll read the rates.
Because there is a 30-day notice period that we have to provide. That's the reason why there's seems like an arbitrary date that's there. So we have to publicize, and then 30 days after publication, the rates become effective.
The proposed rate.
Correct.
I'm not
So
gonna
are
read the
you
current
looking
rate.
for another memo, or are we gonna do this 2
No,
weeks from
I would
today?
I would recommend that the board do this evening, and the rates would become effective 30 days from date of publication, which is July 24th.
Yeah, I have that in the motion.
Oh, I'm sorry, there was one on the back.
Right.
Mr. Prisco.
Mr. Chairman, I move to adopt the North Reading Ambulance 2010 rates effective July 24th, 2010, as follows. For basic life support emergency base rate, $1,250. For basic life support non-emergency base rate, $1,250. Advanced life support emergency base rate, $1,650. Advanced life support 2 emergency base rate, $1,850. And mileage at 38 cents, $38
That's per
Per
mile.
mile.
per mile.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Prisco, second by Mr. O'Leary. Discussion?
Is there any reason why it would not be part of the motion?
We
or
did that
just-
first motion for first reading of a policy.
Right.
We usually do 2.
Right,
This allows us to set a 30-day window for us.
no, I
The rate-
understand
The
that.
rates are reviewed annually. The policy can last for a number of years,
Okay.
there's a need for change.
Thank
The
you,
rates we
Steve.
kind of review annually, adjust them up and down.
Okay.
And as the town administrator pointed out, it requires 30-day notification before they can be implemented.
Questions? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous.
Stay healthy, it's an expensive ride.
Okay,
I'll leave in this time.
next item on our agenda is the discussion to review of the town charter, and Mr. Prisco asked that we discuss that and take,
Very quick.
why don't we wait for Sean to come back? I suspect he's,
Can't we just delegate and make him do it since it's on there?
no light out in that corridor there either.
Yeah, we wouldn't want anyone to trip out there.